Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we gotta talk Josh Giddey heading to Oakland, San Francisco, whatever you want to say. Golden State is they're interested in backcourt help. Hey, younger bro, Seth Curry, gonna finally join his brother. That could also be happening. Malcolm Brogdon seems to be, I guess, maybe the consolation prize, the backup, plan C. But let's talk about it. It seems like these Josh Giddey report comes as a result as the team may or may not be looking to move off of Jonathan Kuminga. Reports have just suggested that the Darius Saric, Devin Carter with 2 second-round picks or the Malik Monk and a protected first-round pick is not what the Warriors deem as a suitable package. Then there was I believe, a 3-year, 4-year, I think it was a 4-year, $90 million deal that was agreed upon with the Suns, with Kuminga in his camp. However, the compensation being either Royce O'Neal and Nick Richards or Grayson Allen and whatever other salary filler, not being enough for the Golden State Warriors to be interested. We all thought that the Jonathan Kuminga trade, if it was going to be to Chicago, was going to be for Nikola Vucevic, but it seems like it could be for Giddy. Now, Golden State is looking to bolster, improve, upgrade their backcourt behind Steph Curry. We were hearing that it's a foregone conclusion that Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton were going to join the Warriors. And if that's the case, maybe Gary Payton was gone or he could come back, even though we saw him speaking to Ansi Sala in Las Vegas. They're allegedly, according to Jake Fisher, targeting Josh Giddey, Seth Curry, and Malcolm Brogdon. One thing I'll note about Malcolm Brogdon is he is known as a locker room lawyer. You can take that with what you want, but that is the report. So, moving forward with the news that we're hearing, if you guys have made it so far, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think of the potential moves? In the comments, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Like and subscribe for more content like this. Currently, Curry, B-Pod, Moses Moody, and Buddy Hield are their only. I think most Moody is more of a swing man, so we're gonna go same thing with Buddy Hield. B-Pod and Curry are the really only true guards on this roster. Guy Santos backs up, Jimmy Buckets. Draymond Green doesn't really have a true backup. Quinn Post, Trace Jackson Davis are their only bigs that on this roster that you would say are pure bigs. We'll give you guys a nice little look at what that roster looks like. They do have Alex Tui, who they just brought in this year. Jackson Rowe and Will Richard. Will Richard being another guard. But this is the current roster, as we just mentioned before, if you guys wanted to see a nice little visualization of it. And, of course, I think one of the interesting things about this deal is if Giddy came here, that'd be killer. I'm telling you right now, I love it. And we know that Giddy is frustrated. They're $10 million apart. The Bulls are offering $20 million a year. His camp wants $30 million a year. I mean, the guy deserves to be paid just as much as Emmanuel quickly. And I know, Toronto has its tax in terms of they have to overpay people to come there. But come on, ladies and gentlemen. And the whole thing, though, if they are going to do this deal, if they are going to get over the finish line to move Kuminga and sign and trade, it is potential. But that pathway involves a sign and trade. Let's talk about those. Brogdon and Curry, it's pretty straightforward, and we'll talk about those options right now before we get into the signing trades. So, what does Giddy give them? First off, I want to talk Brogdon and Curry. Brogdon being a veteran playmaker, health has been the biggest thing with him over the last few years, but he is a guy who's averaged 15 points and almost 5 assists a night on 39% almost from 3. Additionally, he would be someone who can play the 1, the 2, or the 3. He can guard multiple positions, even though he's more of an offensive pass guy. Run the second unit, be a secondary playmaker, be a ball handler who can play on or off the ball next to Curry and Jimmy Butler. He's someone who, brings just a lot of experience and was a 6th man of the year, so he knows what he's doing. Then Seth Curry, a 43.3% career 3-point shooter. He is the younger brother of Steph Curry. He went to Liberty, then he went to Duke. Floor spacer, who last year was with his Charlotte Hornets hometown. I can tell you a story when I was in juvie. The guy who was like the the principal of the juvie I was at, when he worked in Charlotte, Del Curry T-boned him and like totaled his car and was like, "Hey, it's me, baby. It's me, baby." And he was like, "No, okay." He's like, "I still want your like card. Like, give me your ID. I don't know who you are." And the guy was like, "Don't worry. How much you want? How much you want? I'll write a check." He's like, "I'd like your ID card." And the guy was like, "Nah, but man, it's me, baby. I got you. How much you want?" And he's like, "Nah, give me the ID card." So he gets the guy's ID card. He starts reading it, and he realizes it's Del Curry. And Del Curry wrote him a check to get himself a new accurate TL. Either way, bring Seth Curry to, join with his brothers. I think everybody has done that in 2K at least once. It'd be nice to see here. And he's definitely a minimum option right there in terms of contract. It's going to cost them nothing to bring him in. So why not do it? So Kuminga and Josh Giddey, I will be looking. There's a screen right in front of me, so I will be looking at that as we explain this, just because it is a lot of information. So Warriors would sign Kuminga to his new contract, and then they would trade him to Chicago. Chicago sends Giddey to Golden State. The salaries must be 110% plus 250,000. Warriors are below the tax line, 125,000 plus 250K trade band, and that means the base yearly compensation, the BYC, which is like what BYC means, base yearly compensation for Jonathan Kuminga in a signing trade year one would be $22.9 million. So Golden State's Warriors outgoing for matching would be $11.45 million. That's about 50%. The room to take back with only Kuminga going out, 11.45 times 1.25 plus 250,000 is about 14.56 million. That's $5 million less than what the Bulls are offering. If Giddy did this would be a big FU to the Bulls front office, basically saying, "I'll take less money not to play for you guys." Or maybe they're not even offering the money that we think they're being offered. So that's one thing to look at. How could a deal like this work to get it done? How could they get it over? So it would be Kuminga base yearly compensation of $11.45 million plus Moses Moody of $11.57 million. Total outgoing is $23.02 million. Giddy example would be being paid in this case 24 base year compensation. It is allowed because it is 23.028 times 1.25 plus the 250,000 equals 29.035. Now, Team C would either take Moody in this case, because I don't think the Bulls would be taking him. I mean, technically the Bulls could take him, but the Warriors would probably have to give a draft sweetener if this is, for example, the Nets or the Pistons to grease the wheels on this deal. And Kuminga works because it's their whole threshold of 22.9 is below the $30 million threshold that the Chicago. So Chicago can take back basically up to $30 million. The Warriors, I believe, the deal has to be below, I think it's 29 million if they did Moody in this, is the way from my understanding of the cap. Somebody comment down below if I did the numbers wrong. Shout out on Reddit. This is a guy who created the CBA filter, so I just did those numbers, and then I will admit had Gemini help me out with a little previewing. So I did the math myself, and then I obviously had online double check it. Said it was fine, but someone, you know how that stuff is. So we're going to keep moving forward. Either way, Kuminga, base yearly compensation. If they just did a straight up deal, the other deal we just mentioned would have been a 3-team trade. This would be with Buddy Hield. And we're hearing that Buddy Hield and Moses Moody don't want to trade him. They want this to be a straight up deal. And in this deal, they're capped at $26.34 million. So same exact thought process. Giddy could only make between 24 to 26. Kuminga and Hield go there. And then Hield's able to stay there because this deal gives them the threshold of, well, I guess it is over 32. So Bulls must send out $6 to $8 million extra or reroute Hield to a third team. So they could add a Jalen Smith or a Javon Carter in this deal, which I think would be fine if you can get a Javon Carter back. I think the Warriors would be cool with that. But this could be morphed into the first deal that we mentioned, or it could be just its own deal and just be a 2-team trade where they send somebody back. Now, what else is there to do right here? And we talked about it. It is the cleanest where it is. Moses Moody goes to a team in a third team where it's, somebody like the Nets. And that would only affect the Warriors by increasing their payroll maybe by like $1 million or $2 million. Now, a little rule of thumb right here: a two-team trade works only if the Bulls can add outgoing or Warriors can reroute the extra salary to Team C in a separate trade, because you can trade, and then if they get an additional player, or the Bulls, they can do a separate trade where that player can be traded by themselves without the aggregation of another player. So Chicago would only take Kuminga in this sense. Now, three-team works cleanly for X up to $29 million if Golden State pairs Kuminga, who's base yearly compensation, with Moody, who Hield or B-Pod would be the other two options, makes that able to work, if that makes sense. So if Kuminga is not paid $20 million, $25 million a year, which it does not seem like it's going to be possible with a sign and trade, Moody, Hield, or B-Pod would have to be included in a said deal. That's kind of what we're getting at here, if you guys haven't picked that up. Now, moving forward with the rest of the stuff, what other deals could be done? The Vucevic, the deal that we thought was going to happen. So 14.56 alone is not going to be able to get you Vooch. Best way to do this is if you're giving him 11.45, which I think would be the best deal, or giving the full mid-level exception, which is like $14 million. That's going to give you between, and especially if you package a player like a Buddy Hield or a Moses Moody, that could potentially give you a range of $23 to $25, $26 million, which then gives you almost $30 million to work with. So it has to be equal or less than $30 million or $29 million, depending on the players you attach. Nikola Vucevic making $21.48 million this upcoming season on expiring would make that be able to work. So right there alone, it could work very well. And if they do this, you do have to send that second player that the Warriors would do into a third team. So it's interesting to see how all of that could work. But I do like the idea of them maybe going out and doing a trade. But we mentioned it right here. This is kind of how it would look with Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield would be $26 million. So they don't even have to trade Kuminga to make that deal, but Kuminga would be the one that they would do the deal for. So the whole potential is based off the salary cap gymnastics that they would need to do. Moody's $11.57 million raises Golden State's max income, meaning salary, the max incoming salary that they would be able to do to $29.35 million, or $29,350,000. And then Buddy Hield making $9.21 million raises to $26.34 million. And B-Pod's 3.6 raises it to 19. So not enough for Vooch and not enough for Giddy, maybe fringe-wise, and Santo raises it to 17.3. So you see right there how that whole salary, so Santos, if you add him, it's the most you can get back is 17.3. B-Pod, it's 19.1. Buddy Hield, it's 26.3 and 29.03 for Moody, making Moody the most likely, if they had to include someone, for a large salary. Now, outside of that, I think basically, bottom line, the base year compensation on Kuminga is the whole constraint. He wants $20 to $30 million. That ain't happening, buddy. You're getting a mid-level exception at most. And any Kuminga sign and trade for Giddy or Vucevic almost certainly needs a third team to absorb the Buddy Hield or Moses Moody contract, with Golden State paying with picks as a trade sweetener. So Chicago only takes back Kuminga unless they trade for that deal and send back like a Jalen Smith or a Javon Carter. So once you route one mid-salary out of Golden State, both swaps are cap legal and keep the Warriors comfortably below the second apron on my sheet that we use, or on their sheet. Now, that's basically my thoughts right here. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts if you've made it to the end of the video. What do you think, and what do you think the Golden State Warriors should do? Sorry for not looking at the camera as much as I normally do. That was because I had to keep looking back and forth. But that's it. Let me know what you guys think of the mic. Ciao.